Welcome to the American Academy of Grief Counseling's video on counseling with migrant populations. And this is a continuation of our series on multicultural competencies. And this is an important group to consider collectively amongst all the various ethnicities and cultures, because living in the United States means that we are a nation of many different peoples. And because of that, it is also a destination for a variety of cultures that within counseling are going to need emotional and mental support. So it's important to understand not just the ethnicity or the culture of a particular individual, but also to the point of their transitional status as a migrant, as someone leaving somewhere they're familiar with and coming to a strange new world. Now, because of the nativist movement within the United States, we have issues with what we consider migrants to be. A lot of myths, a lot of bad labels that are completely and totally untrue. Migrants make up about 3% of the world population. Migrants are either forced or unforced to come. And this is important to differentiate between. Some migrants come to the United States voluntarily for new career. Maybe their family has already been here and they're coming to reunite. Maybe they're coming for schooling. But some are also forced. They're relocated. They're refugees. They're fleeing persecution. And because of that, it wasn't their choice to come to the United States or Canada or Western Europe. Within the United States, migrants make up 15% of the workforce, and 75% of them are within farming jobs. 47% of migrants account for higher academic positions, and 2 out of 3 migrants are actually documented, much to the myth perpetrated by the nativist movements within the United States. Now, in dealing with acculturation of migrants, it is important to understand where they are, where they've been, and at what level, at a healthy way, are they coping within their new home. So when we look at acculturation, we look at the differences between the host nation and the new culture and how they meet each other in terms of assimilation of an individual, integration, or even marginalization of an individual. So how they react is going to be dependent on multiple factors that are so many, not just of where they're from, but why they're coming there, and also of the support systems that they have based on that. So obviously, acculturation is going to be harder for refugees who are relocated without preference of place. Many times refugees have no choice where to go. Many are also suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, from the loss of a home. Maybe a family member was murdered, or maybe they were imprisoned previously in their homeland. Many arriving face employment issues and mental and financial challenges. In addition, many migrants, depending on who they are, might also face external challenges from the host nation itself. Obviously, those coming from Eastern Europe are going to have a lot easier of a time being accepted than those from the Middle East or those from Central America, due to the prejudices and racism that exists within the host nation. In addition, just because of it being a totally different culture, migrants face culture shock. The United States is probably very different than where they came from. The first phase of culture shock involves an awe of the new culture. And after that initial awe, there can be a second phase, which is going to be that of discontent of a new thing or rejection. Maybe someone from a more conservative nation is discontent with the more liberal morality or immorality that they witness within the host nation itself. The third phase involves the migrant beginning to look to reorientate themselves in association with the awe and the differences that they have to accept. And that leads to the final phase, hopefully, for their own mental health, the adjustment or adaptation to the new culture to the point where they are able to integrate or assimilate, hopefully. So culture shock in counseling, a counselor should be aware that it can lead to a variety of physical and mental maladies, which include anxiety as well as depression. So it's not an easy transition. Unfortunately, despite the culture shock, there are the external stresses of racism and discrimination that one faces simply based upon the color of their skin or the creed they profess. It's poetic that the United States speaks of through the Statue of Liberty, give me your ragged and poor. But the reality is it has been a much more dark history within the United States regarding migrants and attitudes towards immigration. The Know Nothing Party, which was very strong political party in the 19th century, was very anti-immigrant towards the Irish. And other parties later would become more anti-immigrant towards the Italians in the early 20th century. You have that within the Know Nothing Party, but also the Ku Klux Klan, which was very anti-immigrant, in addition to their racism against African Americans, as well as the WASP agenda. The United States obviously is originally an Anglo-Saxon nation, and most of the individuals who fled England were migrants themselves, the Pilgrims and the Puritans, but they established a very WASP orientation of a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, hence the acronym WASP type attitude, which was against other nations that had maybe Catholicism as a main religion, such as Spain and so forth. So there's always been that attitude of that image that this is the United States. But we all know the United States is more than just Anglo-Saxon. It has evolved throughout its hundreds of years of existence, and it has accepted many. And that's part of the greatness of the United States. Unfortunately, nativism again is rising within the United States within the last 15 years, especially in the 2020s. There's a very large anti-immigrant movement labeling individuals. Individuals are being accused of horrendous things. Recently, Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, were accused of eating cats and dogs. And this goes back to the rhetoric of the 19th century Know Nothing Party, except not against Irish, it's against Haitians this time. It's not against Haitians, it's against Latinos or Latinas. It's not against them, it's against Arab Americans. It's a continuation of this type of racism and discrimination and this movement that's fueled by hate and this necessity for America to be WASP, or at least on the outside. So there are challenges for all of these groups. Some groups face more because, again, of their creed. Arab Americans are going to face differences, different challenges due to their religion and labels of terrorist, while many Latinos, Latinas might be looked upon ignorantly because they represent criminals. They represent individuals that are, as said, being emptied out of their prisons and sent to America. These are the types of labels and dehumanization of individuals that has occurred within the nativist movement. Ideas of them being invaders, uneducated, job stealers. This upsets and excites the American population for a movement to target those who are coming. And it is an alt-right movement, and it's in full swing, and individuals need to stand up against it because America is for everyone, and we have to stop dehumanizing migrants for political clout itself. Now, as a counselor, there are many counseling issues with migrants that occur. Some of them we've already discussed, but most of them are emotional, mental, and as well social. Counselors need to address issues prior to immigration. What happened at home? Then address the current issues which we just discussed at length with immigration and nativism, as well as dehumanization of migrants. We also want to look as counselors at understanding their acculturization level, their shock level with the new host country that they have come to. And that could be just religious, it could be social, it could be an issue of morality, which is something that is very different here than where they are from as well. Also want to look at just challenges in the new home, maybe looking just to find basic needs that we all take for granted, such as housing, a job in itself. Also want to look at how grief is affecting them. Many of migrants are facing already multiple stressors, multiple losses from their travels. And it's important to address these and help them find an ability to better cope. And sometimes helping them cope again involves becoming a social voice and a hand in their lives, helping them find the services which they have no clue exist, and connecting them to their other communities and where to find like-minded individuals. I think it's important to give them pride again from where they are from so that they can have an anchor, so that they can find themselves, so that they can become part of this great experiment, which is the United States itself, an experiment of democracy, an experiment of multicultural peoples coming together with one common goal in itself. And that's what America is. It's a dream for the migrant, and it shouldn't be taken away. It wasn't taken away from our ancestors, and it definitely shouldn't be taken away from those coming today. We are AIHCP, and here we offer our grief counseling certification as well as our grief diversity certification, which is open to those who are already grief certified. Our phone number is 330-652-7776, and our email is info@aihcp.org. And below is our reference, the Peterson book, Counseling Across Cultures. Please subscribe to our channel, like the video. I'd also like to thank you for listening and have a good day.